My name is Nabia, and you're welcome to Z Deco Live. Z Deco Live is proudly hosted by Z Multimedia, your number one lifestyle, leisure, and business radio show. The show is also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Just look for Z 101.9 FM and you are good to go. As usual, Z Deco Live is here to give you all the relevant and topical issues that concerns interior furnishing and construction. So for both indoor, outdoor, putting up a building, either for your home, office, or commercial space, this is the number one show across the country that you need to listen to. Last week, we spoke a bit about functionality when designing a space, and I was so excited when people tagged me in a post on Facebook about how a mason who was putting up tiles said or did a short video of himself saying that the walls were not straight and put his level against the wall and told people that if you do not have straight walls, you have to keep breaking down the walls or you have to keep buying more cement. And people tagged me in that because they heard me and my guest, last week's guest, discussing this. So thank you for all the tags. Thank you for all the comments. It just shows that the show is making a lot of impact. Today's show is also one of such a brilliant discussion. We're going to be discussing designing and accessibility. But we'll do a spot of music and we will come back with DIY. Then we'll go straight into the discussion. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Bye. DIY segment today, and it's actually in line with what we're going to talk about of design and accessibility. Now the kids are back in school, as we all know, and they are running around, and we are having some of them over, our nieces, our nephews, for play dates and all of that. But we have to take note of the sharp corners that our furniture has. Some of our dining tables are not rounded, the edges are not rounded, so as they run around and jump around, it can hit them at the side, or when they sit to eat and they get up and they are not careful, it can interfere with their movement. Sometimes the coffee table, sometimes even the beds that we have, all of that. It's not your fault. The design style, as you bought it, has the sharp corners. So for DIY today, I'm going to give you a few tips that you can use, just 2 tips that you can use or do so that, especially with the kids, it doesn't hurt or harm them. The first one is you have to look for foam. Foam is like the easiest way to, or the easiest thing to use as padding. Fiber is a bit too soft and it would not help with the activities of the kids, the vigorous jumping around, but foam does very well. So normally your corner store in the corner, not the high-end store, but your corner store, they normally sell foams because people use foam for so many things in the house. So you're always 99.9% likely to find foam in the corner store. It ranges from between 5 to 12 cedis depending on how they have cut the foam. So you can get that and look for old fabric, right? Or preferably a t-shirt or even an old sock, right? And you stuff the foam in. Make sure that you cut it in a nice, delicate way that fits the corner of the table or the corner of the bed or whatever it is that you're using to to block that sharp corner. Okay, so once you put the foam in, you've measured in your fabric and everything is perfect, and I'm assuming everything is perfect now. Just look for glue, really firm glue. Don't look for the don't look for the 99 glue. It wouldn't stick. 99 glue is what they have, the carpenters use. Don't look for that. Look for super fast glue and just dab a bit at the edges and just stick at the side. It would hold for some time. Or you can look for a Velcro. Velcro that helps you with the stick on and the removing as well. So you stick one end of the Velcro with the glue on the side that you want to secure, and you just attach, or you attach by sewing one side to the foam padding that you have made and attach. It would at least hold for some time whilst the kids do their running around, and you will not be in any trouble. If you cannot do your foam, or if you can't find foam at the corner store, look for old socks or old t-shirts and bundle it up to have a firm surface. Then the same thing, either you use the Velcro or you use the glue. But this is important because kids in their playing, in their running around, do not really pay attention to how they bounce. I try to rhyme here. It's a big rhyme. I'm rapping now. So when that happens, it's you who will end up in the hospital, or who you will end up taking care of your kid and having to miss work and all of that. So if you're not going to replace that sharp-edged finishing around you, then please try as much as possible to protect the edge so that nobody gets hurt. And adults too, sometimes if we're not paying attention, these corners hit us, and they hit us out the side or our legs, and it's very painful, if you know what I mean. So please pay attention. So we're going off, and we'll come back with my guests for this week, and we'll stress them very, very soon.
For, I'd say 6 years now.
Okay.
So I completed my proper signage so that you can be able to access the space. We're getting it wrong. Even lights, making sure our lights are good enough for people who may not be in a particular state. So all of that is part of the issues that we're having. But the basics, I would say we are getting it wrong, because some public spaces may not even have ramps that people can access. Those who have ramps may not even have handrails for people to hold on to be able to even access the space. So then it means that people who may need to go onto the ramp need to be assisted. And then that becomes an issue. So when the person doesn't have somebody to assist him, then it means that the person cannot use the space.
So whose fault is it, Yaw? Because you are the architects building. You're the ones putting the buildings up. So who is that? It's not the furnishers. We're just bringing in the soft things.
I think you are right. So I would say that some of the fault is from the architects, some of the fault is from the enforcers.
Okay, let's start with the enforcers.
Okay, so in terms of enforcement, Ghana has a law for persons with disability, which came up in 2006.
Okay.
And there was a period for it to be enforced or properly enacted. That was 10 years, which means that as at 2016, right, 2016, at least we should have been able to put certain things in place. But there's been a lot of research that gives evidence that most of the buildings, even the public buildings like the Parliament House and some of those buildings, may not even properly have spaces that can help people with disability.
Okay.
So that's one of it. So if there's a law and we are not enforcing it, then it means that we have a big problem. Okay. So some of the people who may even look at our designs and say that, okay, so your building passes for a permit, they don't probably they don't really check in for all those specific things that are in the law. Because you need to have maybe, so per what you are designing, you may need spaces for car parks, for people, and those car parks have to be bigger than the usual spaces, so that when somebody comes out and the person needs to be in a wheelchair, the person can be moved around.
Yes.
Okay. So if those things are not being done, then it means that we have a problem.
And I see buildings, especially commercial, like shops, and the parking is so tight.
Yes.
Before you realize there's double parking.
Exactly.
Right in front of
the shop.
So
even normal parking, we're having a problem. So how more when we're trying to do spacing for people with disability, or we're trying to do something so that at least everybody can be able to use. That's it. So even when you look at spaces outside and you look at their commercial facilities, you'd realize that they intentionally create spaces for people in wheelchairs, old people, people who come in strollers, and all those things. And we don't have that here. Even normal spacing, we have a problem with it.
And we don't do it outside, and we certainly don't do it inside the building too, because I'm just immediately thinking about banking halls, for instance, right? Because you have different people. It's one to-go area, you have different people coming in.
Exactly.
So if it's not done outside, not done inside, how are we even furnishing inside?
The spaces inside, yes. So even for the inside, for instance, for washrooms like this, you go into a banking hall and let's say you want to use the washroom and the person is an older person and you look at probably how tight the washroom is, how the person be able to enter. Turn around, probably the person is holding a walking stick, sits down because the thing is too low. Once you're able to create different washrooms so that if somebody comes in a wheelchair, somebody comes holding a walking stick, the WCs are built higher so that they can sit down on it without struggling. They have handles on the side so that they can lift themselves up. We don't have that. So when they enter those spaces, they are not comfortable. So even that's for commercial spaces.
Yeah. So is it a thing that we are more or less trying to how will I put it? We are trying to is this safe space? Is that a thing that we are trying to do?
I think that maybe we are not tackling the issue as we should. Okay, so when usually you're supposed to think about those things, but I would say that you need to be intentional about it.
Okay, so intentional from day one.
Yeah, you need to be intentional that you are trying to create spaces that can be used by everybody. Okay. When we were in school, we were being taught about spaces to ensure that everybody can use them. So if, for instance, you are creating an auditorium, you need to make sure that you have spaces or even furniture that can be movable. So that when somebody comes in a wheelchair, there should be at least some of them that are fixed, some of them that are movable. So that if somebody comes in a wheelchair, you can move those ones for the person to be able to sit in comfortably. And it shouldn't just be spaces that are in front, because somebody may be in a wheelchair and may want to sit somewhere at the back to enjoy what is being done in the auditorium. So you should have vantage areas. So I don't think it's about saving space. I think that we've just not been intentional about it, and we have considered those things as being periphery. Okay, I mean, what shows that somebody will probably come in a wheelchair? Or what shows that somebody will come in and the person will be blind? I don't think that's possible. I mean, so that's how we've perceived it as. Okay, but when you're in school, you're supposed to be taught those things. Sometimes when we come out and we are designing, I think that we get overwhelmed with, I just want to design for the building to be nice, and sometimes we forget about the functionality.
Focusing on the aesthetics,
exactly,
and we forget about the functionality.
So sometimes that's what happens. We think we want to design the thing, and we think about the facade, and we forget about the interior. Because when you go into proper architecture, you realize that sometimes the functionality would have to override the aesthetics. But when most of the time we ask about who's the architect, we are thinking about, the building is so nice. We are not looking at whether the interior spaces are properly coordinating well, whether you can be able to access the stage from the back easily, whether there are ramps that are linking the spaces well, whether the walkways are wide enough for you to be able to even walk through, whether the doorways are good enough, whether the door handles are properly done, that you can be able to hold them and open without squeezing your hand. Okay, because even the old people, if when it comes to doors, it will be difficult for somebody to open a door that is a knob. they need a door that is a lever that they
Yeah.
can calmly press
Yeah.
and then go inside.
Yeah.
So all those things are things that need to be properly considered to make sure that we have our spaces like that. And so I think that's number one, is being intentional. We're not being intentional about our spaces. I think
Yeah.
that's the issue.
Okay, and I like what Yaw has said, because it has been a running theme for all the guests we have had on Z Deco Live. That is paying attention to functionality. All of them, from the first guest to Yaw seated here, irrespective of what they've come to discuss, have laid a lot of focus on the fact that we need to be functional in our spaces, in choosing the kind of furniture we have in choosing the kind of lights we have in choosing, like, literally everything that will furnish both indoors and build the space outdoors. We have to be intentional and functional about it. So you see, you have to join Z Deco Live every Friday to have the right kind of discussion. But let's still stay like briefly on the practical applications. So is it that at which point, I hear you when you're saying that we have to be intentional and everything, but let's imagine a Ghana in 2032, right?
Okay.
At which point do we have to be intentional? Is it at the drawing stage? Is it at the decision stage? At the drawing stage, that is one. Is it at the decision stage when we are choosing the type of furniture? At which point does your emphasis come in? Because it's like we have finished the building and we start looking for problems to fix.
I think it should be from the start.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like I think. It should be from the start.
Okay.
From the onset. We have a number of principles that you're supposed to follow when you're making sure you design, to make sure that all those things are being done.
Okay.
So if those particular principles are not being followed, then you have a problem. So even from the design stage, we have 5. Let me try and get it here.
Okay.
So we have 5 principles that you need to follow. The first one is approachability.
Okay.
So before you approach the building, what are the things that you are trying to make sure that are in place so that everybody can easily approach the building, can easily identify that that's where the building is?
Okay.
There are a lot of things that are, indirect, from parking to floor surfaces to ramps and all of that. The next one is findability. There should be signage that you should be able to know that, okay, that is where the washroom is. That is where this thing is.
We don't normally do that. If we ask, please, where's the washroom?
Exactly.
Please,
so how do you identify that that's where the washroom is?
We never do.
And even for some of the things, somebody may end up being shy. We may not consider that as being in quotes.
I have ended up in the male washroom before. I have.
So there's a big problem. We don't do proper signage. And even for some of the signage, when you look at the drawing of what looks like a female, it may look like something else.
Exactly.
So we have universal signages that you need to be able to use for some of those things, which some spaces don't use those things. Even for colors.
Okay.
For some of for the car parking space, the colors that you use for all of that, there are universal standards that you need to make sure that you go by.
Okay.
There's also, the next one is accessibility. That is getting in. The ramps, the waiting areas. You should have waiting areas that should have a space where somebody in a wheelchair can sit. Somebody that is a little boy can equally sit and be very comfortable. So it should be able to satisfy, at averagely, a good number of people. I don't say that you can't satisfy everybody, but it shouldn't be that you are ignoring majority of the things that you need to be doing. The next concept is usability. So the whole space will be used. Switches, controls, every single thing. Furniture, everything. If it comes to furniture, it means that you need to make sure that the type of furniture it doesn't irritate somebody. All of those things are things that needs to be considered, properly considered. The finishes, even to carpets. So we when it comes to accessibility, you need to ensure that the carpet is well glued. If it's certain spaces, it needs to be well glued to the ground. Else, when somebody is coming, the person may end up tripping and then falling down. So even that is something that needs to be done. Okay. And then we will talk about the public washrooms, talk about the type of flooring. You should have non-slip floors, so that when at least the somebody is coming and the person is in heels, the person will not end up slipping and falling down. So, and then the last one is security and comfort. So that is getting out in case there's any issue. There should be lights that will keep coming on and off. If the person cannot hear, the person can see that there's danger. I need to get out of the place. And equally, there should be sound that at least somebody who cannot hear properly can be able to identify that there's danger that is there. So those are like the 5 principles that from the design stage you need to ensure that you have all those things in place.
Or else you're in trouble. So it just fits perfect into the tech and innovation stage, right? So now we have smart furniture, we have automated systems, we have all of that. What's your brief thoughts on that? Because from the furnishing space, I know that smart furnishing is expensive.
Exactly. It's
so
very expensive.
Very expensive. So I know a lot of people are not heavily invested in that right now. Even for smart tech furnishing of even remote controlled curtains, even the doors that have, I think it's only offices that kind of do that security door thing with a thumbprint, and a few people have safes where you can use. But aside that, it's not something that you readily go into homes
and then
and offices
see
and
them.
see them.
Okay, so my thoughts on that, those technological stuff makes accessibility quite easy. You get into a space and then the light comes on its own. You don't really need to go and press any button. It can be able to even identify that there are 5 people inside. So
you have Siri asking you, what would you want today? How was your day?
And then you can even enter and say that, oh, Siri, can you draw the curtains for me?
Exactly.
All those things are quite interesting. But, I mean, they're expensive. If you can afford them, why not? I think that it makes accessibility easy because you don't waste money. I mean, so in terms of the long term, you're able to save money, especially with the lights. People may end up leaving their lights on, their fans on.
I'm very guilty.
Exactly. So when you have those sensors that can tell that there's nobody in the room and the fan will go off on its own, why not? Because, I mean, now we have cars that when they are approaching a particular car, they can tell that, okay, and then the lights will dim on its own. So within the space, once you enter the space, that thing alone can be able to tell that, okay, there's only one person, so it doesn't have to be too bright. You can enter the space and say that, okay, you, even for the ACs and things like that. So I think it can make technology, it will make accessibility quite easy and useful.
It's just the city to dollar ratio.
But it's expensive in terms of, it's expensive. That's the thing, it's expensive, right?
In terms of like the smart furnishing like this, the curtains, they are, if you wanted to install, one of the most beautiful things to install. Like you literally wake up and just press your blackouts and it gives you blackouts. If it's not blackout you want and it's just still your slim foil, it just does that for you, opens up to a particular view. But if I'm to quote that for you, you literally run away from me. But my thoughts on that is the price. If it wasn't the pricing, and if we could do most of it here, because 99.9 is not manufactured. Yes, it's not manufactured here. It's all imported, and once the foreign currency does this thing, then I mean, your furniture has no choice that to tell you that this one you can't afford. But do you think it's a thing people should, like, price or not, people should be like opening their minds?
Yes, I think so, because for commercial spaces like this, especially those automated doors, once the person gets there, the person then doesn't need to push to be able to go into into the space, especially like the shopping malls or those spaces. It will make it easy for people to know that they can just easily enter the space and then come out, because it will sense that you're coming close. So for commercial spaces, I would say that, I mean, if you can price for those ones, especially like the doors, the automated doors, for lights that would come on immediately enter the washroom, those things can be priced for. So that when you have, for instance, for the malls, you don't have anybody in a particular spot in a washroom and the lights will be on. If once you enter, the lights comes on, you're saving a lot of money. So like it may be expensive, but for commercial spaces, I'd say that it's good, it's profitable. For individuals, for their own personal houses, for, let's say, curtains that can be drawn on its own, I'll say that's safe towards it. if you don't have enough money to be able to afford those ones. But you can price for it and then design towards it and then try and save towards it so that you can make changes. And that's one of the things that is interesting when it comes to design. Once you design for it, then you can build towards it.
Okay. Once again, ZFM, you see, we bring only quality guests. We don't bring people who are afraid to speak the truth. Z is your number one, and let me repeat it again, your number one lifestyle, leisure, and business platform, bringing you all the necessary details, at least when it comes to lifestyle, leisure, and business. Now let's focus on this. Local content and standards. I know this is going to be a very passionate point you're going to make, because we began the discussion way before we got here. How well do Ghana's building and design codes support accessible spaces? You know, before you jump into, so when you spoke about, you know, the first thing you said about wheelchairs and all of that, it just took me to when, I don't want to remind anybody of our heads, but when we're burying our 8 gallant men, I saw President Kufuor when he was coming, and he was confidently, and I admire him for the way he has embraced this position in his life. And he was just busily coming, and there was also another Catholic priest I saw who was also in a chair like that, similar, busily coming. And the point he made, I'm sure they put grass there. And whoever designed the space factored in that people are going to come and they are going to ride their wheels on this grass. You know, and it was, nobody was behind President Kufuor. He was just moving, the same as the Catholic priest, you know. So it just gives me that point that you have to literally assess the space. You have to understand the space. Understand the different kind of people who are coming into that space. Because imagine the grass was of low quality, it wasn't placed well. He would ride and he would stop and literally even trip and fall, and that would be a bigger embarrassment. Oh yeah, I get your point. So please, design codes. What's up with that one?
Well,
the Ghana standard.
So the Ghana standards. I mean, so let me take you to. I mean, the law was enacted in 2006. So I mean, there are several laws that
all this while 206 is like recent to me. Then what were we doing all this while?
Oh, we didn't have any laws.
You are joking.
We didn't have any laws for persons with disability. I mean, we had things that were in our constitution that says that guaranteeing the right of, and it was just one line. And then there was something in the Workmen's Compensation Act that is from 1987. If somebody
got hurt, if you sue,
you didn't get anything at that time.
At that time,
yes.
Oh wow,
yeah. But now,
206.
Yes. But now, I mean, in the laws, there are several things that are in it. For persons with disability, or so that you can be able to access the spaces. So there's, when you go to section 7 of it. It talks about library spaces, transport terminals, community centers, public health facilities. I mean, you need to have certain things there. It talks about parking spaces for persons with disability. So when you go to a commercial space and they don't have parking for you in your wheelchair, you can go and sue, because that's what the law says.
Really?
Yes, you can. And there are penalties for all of that.
And it's in the law.
It's in the law.
So technically, you're trying to say, Yaw, that ideally or technically, we have something that supports
persons with disability, or even anybody that may end up in such a situation. Let's give an example as a woman who's pregnant. Before she was pregnant, she was working and then walking very well.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden she's pregnant.
Okay.
And let's say she gets to the hospital.
Not all of a sudden, Yaw.
Not all of a sudden. I mean, something happens and then she ends up being pregnant. Okay, so she's at the pharmacy and she wants to go on her own to go and get her own drug. And she gets to that pharmacy and there's no ramp. She gets to that space and she wants to be able to hold something to walk there. There's no handrail. And even the handrails, there are different levels to it. There's the upper one, there's a middle one. So she's a little bit low. So she wants to hold the one that is below. How is she going to hold it? With that, then it means that we are rather causing an issue for her.
Okay.
So if you may be thinking that it's only for people who may end up in wheelchairs or people who were born with such things. But I think that at any point in time, anybody can end up in such a situation like that. So when we are creating spaces as architects or even as construction people, you need to think about it and find out that why didn't we create a space like this for somebody to be able to access it? The only time we think about it is when we're in that situation.
That's a big problem. Then we start
asking,
who did this? Why is this not here? So who was there? Nobody.
So the person gets to the hospital, she's going to give birth, and now she has to be in a wheelchair. And there's no ramp. So they have to lift her up, even in the wheelchair, go and place her there before she'll be able to go through.
And speaking about that, even sometimes when you go into hospitals, the kind of furniture is not even soft enough. I don't know why we are fascinated with hard benches. I don't know who taught us that when you go to the hospital, the bench has to be hard, and we have this clinical looking steel-like chairs there.
I think the way our country is, once we get used to something, we find it difficult to change. So if you designed for, somebody on another side, you try and design for somebody and say, let's get couches for the waiting areas or for some of the spaces, he'll probably tell you that it's too expensive.
And that's what they will say.
That's what they'll tell you.
But there are private hospitals that have their waiting and so beautiful. And you see, and that's what makes the UGMC stand out.
Yes.
We go like, UGMC is nice. It's not like it's nice.
Because they have
functionality.
Yes. And they have adaptable spaces. They have adaptable furniture where you can sit down and relax.
Exactly.
And not go and sit on those hard steel. No.
And you have malaria shivering. You go on that hard steel, cold looking chair. The malaria even increases. What's that all about? Okay, so still on that, within a minute or two. So saying all of this, then what challenges do we have as designers when we are advocating for accessibility in our local projects?
Okay, so as designers, architects, interior people, construction people, I think that it's money. Money is one of it. We need to also advocate more for these things to be done. Because
who's bringing
people,
the money in? Is it the clients?
Yeah, the clients. I'll say the clients, because I would say that in terms of knowledge, architects are intentionally being trained on these things. So when I was doing my first degree, it wasn't a course, a particular course to be done. But now there's a course for you to understand that barrier-free designs.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure that the space is universal.
Okay.
There's a course like that.
Okay.
Though we learned it as part of our projects, okay, so we are designing, make sure you have space for these people. Now it's intentional. So I'll say in terms of design, I think it's being covered. Knowledge is being covered. So the client needs to understand that you may need to spend some money on it.
Okay.
And I think for commercial buildings, they'll profit from it.
Okay.
People will come into the space like a hospital. Somebody will come into the space and say that when I went, that space there, it's very comfortable. Yeah. When I went in there and I was pregnant, as for the beds, you can even lower it and it will come back up again.
Yes.
So those people may think that, oh, maybe a little bit expensive. The architect will say that, try and get this and that. But in the long run, it will be profitable. Yeah, so in terms of knowledge, now it's being covered. Cost may be a challenge. The last one I'll say is, because we are not talking a lot more, let me say in the past, or people are not talking a lot more about it, and the enforcement is low, that is also a challenge. If we cover buildings, I know people who have done audits on some of the big buildings in this country, the Parliament House and a number of them, which they felt like it wasn't even meeting the criteria. So they gave them things to do. All of that is part of the issues. If those people who are making the laws understand that we need to make sure that it's being enforced, then we'll be covering a lot of the ground and making sure that all those challenges are being taken away.
I also think that the good thing about the current state that we are in also is now people are well traveled.
Yes.
People are traveling. At least Dubai has saved us.
Yes.
People go to Dubai and see what the Arabs have done.
Exactly.
In terms of furnishing, in terms of space, in terms of even architecture, how they've raised their buildings and used their limited space to do so much.
Yes.
And when they come, well, they want to emulate what is inside the buildings in terms of furniture and lights and all that. It's the outside that, well, to be a whole new thing. But I think being well traveled has also helped.
Yeah, it has.
And also, those who are not even well traveled, social media has helped.
Yes, it's helping. Social media is helping. Those who travel a lot see a lot of things.
Oh, yes.
You get into a train and there's space for somebody who is in a wheelchair to be able to sit calmly in that space. The person will have a problem. There's even adjustable seating where they can bring it down or decide not to sit on it and sit on their own wheelchair. So all of that, I mean, once we see it online, we learn. So the public also understands that these things needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'll say.
All right. But how can homeowners plan for future accessibility beyond... Okay. How can homeowners, if you are renovating and building, let's focus on renovating and building. What would your to-go-to advice be?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is try and create doorways that are wide enough.
Oh, tell them about doors. Please add windows. Add windows.
I think I mean doorways that are wide enough, even windows, because you need enough. You need proper air coming into the space. Because once you get older, you need those things to be able to. You can't be in a very tight space and feel.
It makes you more sick.
Exactly. Yeah. So the windows, the doorways, especially, you need proper doorways so that you can. If somebody's in a wheelchair, they can move around.
Okay.
The flooring. Okay. You need non-slip floors.
Yes. The tiles.
The tiles. Oh. Okay.
Big problem.
And then the levels. I know people who want to do different levels within their sitting room.
I don't know why it's.
You want to do one level here, try another level on another side. It's all one sitting room.
What style is that?
I have no idea.
You are the ones who build the houses. Then when we the furnishers enter, we're like, hey, what is happening here?
I think that sometimes we feel like that is part of the design. Yeah, you could create different levels, but you need to make sure that you have the levels sloping in smoothly, or
Okay.
you can have the levels being on ramps in a way so that somebody doesn't need to take a step to be able to go, or even some people can have 3 steps before they go into their proper living room. All those things can be a hindrance.
Okay.
Once you get old, now you're an old man, you can't even go down there. Now they have to put it up there for you to watch TV.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things. And one of the key things I tell people is that make sure you have a bedroom on the ground floor.
Yes.
Make sure you have a bedroom on the ground floor so
Yeah.
that when you get old, you can't install a lift in your house.
No.
But at least you have that bedroom which is wide enough, has a big washroom, has a big bathroom together, and so that you can properly access it.
Yeah.
Because once you get old, they can't be lifting you up, sending you to your bedroom, and I mean it will be an issue. Even your children will end up telling you that daddy, you are troublesome. We don't even want to live with you. So those are the 3 or 4 things I'll say when it comes to building and then renovating, making sure you have those things. Per the person's issue, then you can do more. You may end up doing handrails within the whole room, so that they can be able to walk on their own and come out of their room and come and sit down. So those ones come up when the issue actually is there. But the basics would have to be levels, ramps, doorways, knobs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the final question: young designers, young architects, young interior designers, old interior designers like me, young architects, all of us. Yeah, you have chatted. It's a big post. Chatted accountant on Z101.9 FM this afternoon, the last Friday of September. Tell us in less than a minute, what advice would you give to us when we are integrating accessibility into our projects? Because it's important. We must be doing things well now. So what is your advice?
I'd say that accessibility is not a luxury. I think it's an obligation. We need to make sure that those spaces can be used by majority of the people.
Okay.
So if it is making sure those doorways are quite wide enough, make sure you do that. So it should form part of your design. From the onset, make sure you think about all those things. Think about your materials, think about your anthropometrics, think about
That's a big
how
word.
people can. So anthropometrics is how people relate with the spaces
We thank
and
you
the
very
other
much.
things as well. So that's what I'll say. And I'm certain that now that people are realizing that those things are important, we will get a shift from commercial spaces that don't have certain things, at least. I can see that now everybody says, oh, I have a ramp. But it's not about the ramp. It's about making sure that even the ramp itself has a proper ratio.
Yeah, that I can climb.
So that somebody can climb.
Yeah.
So it's not just about putting those things there, but it's about making sure that it's being done properly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Yaw. And as I tell all my guests who've come before you, you're going to definitely come again because you have been insightful. The discussion has been totally, totally on point. So for those of you who have tuned in and joined us for our discussion, please, it would be repeated on Sundays at 5. But there are so many other discussions that you can tune in on the Z 101.9 FM platform. So see you next week. And please always make sure that whatever you do, you furnish with functionality at the apex of it. As for the aesthetics of how it looks, how beautiful, how the design and everything, those ones will come. But make sure that you can live in your space, you want to be in your space, and you actually enjoy your space before you start fussing over the other things. So thank you very much. And we have a date next week. Bye. Enjoy.